They invited her into the house, but acceptance was never part of the deal. The Obande mansion stood like a fortress in the heart of Naluba City. Tall glass walls, silent guards, no warmth. This was the house Ayana walked into. She didn't smile. She didn't hesitate. She walked in like someone who already knew the rules. At the doorway stood Madame Karoma Obande. Power lived in her eyes. Judgment lived on her lips. She looked Ayana up and down and said calmly, "You will stay here, but don't mistake this place for your home." Ayana nodded. No protest, no fear. At dinner, Madame Karoma spoke again, this time louder. "This family values strength. Weak people don't last here." Everyone watched Ayana. She kept eating. That night, alone in the guest room, Ayana looked at her watch and whispered, "It started." Morning came early. Ayana woke up before anyone else. Not because she was asked to, because she chose to. At breakfast, Madame Karoma didn't look at her. She spoke about her. In this house, silence is respect, and respect is earned. Ayana said nothing. Later that day, the housekeeper whispered, "Madam doesn't like girls like you." Ayana asked calmly, "Girls like me?" The housekeeper didn't answer. By afternoon, Ayana realized something strange. No one told her the rules, but she was punished for breaking them. She sat in the wrong chair. She walked into the wrong corridor. She spoke at the wrong time. Madame Karoma smiled coldly. "You must learn quickly, or you won't survive here." That night, Ayana wrote something in her notebook, then closed it. Unreadable. Guests arrived that evening. Important people, business partners, friends of the family. Madame Karoma chose that moment. Standing tall, she said, "Some people enter our lives by mistake. Time reveals who truly belongs." Her eyes moved slowly and stopped on Ayana. The room went silent. Ayana felt every stare. She stood up, not in anger, but with control. She bowed her head slightly. "Thank you for your honesty, madam." That was it. No tears, no explanation. Later, Ayana's husband Colin whispered, "Why don't you fight back?" Ayana replied softly, "Because this isn't a fight." Colin didn't understand. Neither did the audience. Yet, days passed. Ayana was no longer invited to family discussions, no longer informed of decisions. At dinner, her plate arrived last. Sometimes, not at all. Madame Karoma said one sentence repeatedly: "You are temporary." Ayana never corrected her. Instead, she listened, watched, learned. At night, she made quiet phone calls, short, careful. Once, Madame Karoma overheard her and asked sharply, "Who are you talking to?" Ayana replied calmly, "No one important." That answer disturbed Madame Karoma more than any lie. Something felt wrong. Ayana wasn't breaking. She wasn't begging. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. Madame Karoma began watching her closely. "Most girls cry by now," she said to Colin. Colin replied, "She's different." Madame Karoma narrowed her eyes. "Different people are dangerous." That night, Ayana stood alone on the balcony, city lights below her. She spoke quietly, almost to herself. "They still think this is about acceptance." She smiled. Not a happy smile, a prepared one. Morning broke differently. Ayana noticed subtle changes in the mansion. The security guards were whispering. The staff moved a little faster. Madame Karoma's usual sharpness had cracks, tiny, almost invisible. At breakfast, Madame Karoma glanced at Iona and said to her son Kalen, "Do you notice her calmness? Most people would crumble." Iona didn't flinch. She ate silently. Later, Iona walked through the library, her footsteps careful, almost ceremonial. She saw documents on the table, papers about the Obonde family's corporate holdings. One paper mentioned a potential scandal, financial records that could ruin reputations if mishandled. Ayana didn't touch anything. She simply read, memorized, and walked away. That night, Madame Karoma was uneasy. Something about her is off, too controlled, too quiet. Ayana, alone in her room, whispered to herself, "They don't know I'm watching." Ayana started noticing the smallest patterns, staff conversations, door openings, even the way dinner was served. Everything had meaning. One evening, Ayana overheard a secret meeting in the drawing room. Kalen's business partner was arguing with Madame Karoma. "If these papers leak, it will destroy the company." Ayana didn't intervene. She didn't react, but she memorized every word, every gesture. Later that night, Ayana went to her balcony. The city lights stretched endlessly below her. She whispered, "Patience isn't weakness, it's preparation." Meanwhile, Madame Karoma's suspicion grew. She commented to Kalen, "I've seen many girls, but none like her. She doesn't beg, she doesn't plead, yet I feel like she's always 3 steps ahead." Ayana smiled faintly. No one noticed. Ayana's silence became the biggest threat. Madame Karoma, frustrated, decided to test her publicly. During a formal dinner with elite guests, she whispered, "I wonder if you even understand what this house demands of you." Guests noticed the tension. Colin looked uneasy. Staff shifted nervously. Ayana didn't respond immediately. She let the moment stretch. Her eyes scanned the room quietly, catching tiny details. Who served wrong plates? Who avoided eye contact? Who whispered secrets? Then, calmly, she said, "I understand more than you think." The room froze. Madame Karoma's jaw tightened. Later that night, Ayana left the dining hall quietly. To the world, she looked like a passive girl. To herself, she had just passed a silent, dangerous test. Weeks passed. The family's business was now facing a hidden crisis, a potential financial collapse no one had noticed. Madame Karoma panicked, calling every advisor she trusted. Kalen was desperate. The staff whispered rumors. Ayana observed it all. She didn't act yet. She never acted too soon. One night, she walked into the study where the financial documents were left open. No one saw her. No one heard her. She whispered to herself, "Timing is everything." By the morning, the family was on edge. Madame Karoma muttered, "I feel like someone is controlling the situation from behind the scenes." Ayana smiled faintly in her room. No one could see it. Ayana began interacting more with Kalen, not as a wife, not as a daughter-in-law, but as someone who observed everything silently. She asked questions subtly, never revealing her intentions. "Did anyone check this report thoroughly? What about the shipment schedule?" Kalen noticed her insight, but didn't realize how much she already knew. Madame Karoma grew colder each day. She commented to a guest, "That girl, I don't know if she's naive or dangerous." Ayana overheard, smiling faintly. No one understood the smile. It wasn't joy, it wasn't malice, it was confidence. That night, she stood on the balcony again, overlooking the city. Her whisper was calm, almost a promise. Soon, they will see what no one expects. The house was quiet again. Not the calm of peace, but the tense silence of unspoken fears. Ayana had studied the Obande mansion like a map, every room, every corridor, every whispered conversation. She knew who panicked first, who lied without realizing, who trusted too easily. Late that night, she quietly scribbled notes into her journal. Not plans for revenge, no dramatic gestures. She was preparing for the storm that no one saw coming. Meanwhile, Madame Kuroma had noticed subtle changes. "Kaylin, do you feel it? She's too calm, too composed. I don't like it." Kaylin shrugged. He didn't understand. Neither did the guests. That evening, a minor fire alarm went off in the mansion, one small mistake in the kitchen. Everyone panicked. Ayana calmly directed the staff. "Check the main valve, isolate the area, call security." In 10 minutes, the problem was contained. No one thanked her. No one noticed her precision. Madame Kuroma muttered under her breath. "She acts like she's already in charge, but she shouldn't be." Ayana smiled silently in her room, her whisper barely audible. "Patience, timing, everything is in place." By now, Ayana was becoming part of the household without anyone knowing it. She helped the staff rearrange schedules subtly, making operations smoother. She observed business meetings from a distance, noting flaws. She never interrupted, never corrected, yet her presence was felt. Kalen grew uneasy. "Why do I feel like she's controlling things without saying a word?" Madame Kuroma, frustrated, tried to confront her. "Ayana, what are you doing with these reports?" Ayana replied simply, "Just observing, making sure things are running properly." Her calm tone unnerved everyone. No one realized she had already memorized every number, every account, every risk. That night, Ayana stood in front of the window watching the city lights. Her thoughts were silent, sharp, precise. Soon, they will realize who's been protecting them all along. Madame Kuroma had started noticing things going awry even when she expected chaos. One evening, a delivery error could have caused massive losses in the company. Staff panicked. Callan tried to intervene, but was too late. Ayana appeared silently in the boardroom, reviewing the documents. "This shipment was rerouted correctly. There is no loss." Everyone froze. Callan looked shocked. Madame Kuroma's lips pressed tightly. "How did—" she whispered. Ayana didn't answer. She simply walked out, leaving a room full of questions. That night, Callan approached her privately. "Ayana, you did this?" Ayana's eyes were calm, almost playful. "I only did what needed to be done. You don't have to understand." Madame Kuroma, observing from afar, felt a cold shiver of unease. For the first time, she questioned everything she thought she knew. Ayana began connecting invisible threads of influence. She knew who in the mansion could sabotage her quietly. She knew who would betray the family out of fear. She understood weaknesses without revealing her own strength. During a dinner party with elite guests, an important contract arrived. Everyone panicked because it was missing signatures. Ayana quietly took it, checked every detail, and returned it flawlessly. Madame Kuroma leaned toward Kaylin and whispered, "This girl, I don't trust her, but somehow she's keeping everything together." Kaylin frowned. "It's like she's invisible and everywhere at the same time." Ayana overheard this from the balcony. Her smile was barely noticeable. Her whisper, "They still have no idea what's coming." Days passed. The household had unknowingly become Ayana's stage. No one realized she had been quietly preparing a strategy that would change everything. Even Madame Karoma, proud and powerful, began dreading the next step without knowing why. Ayana's calmness had become the most powerful weapon in the mansion. "They see me as weak, but I am already ahead," she whispered alone. That night, Ayana wrote a final note in her journal. "Tomorrow, the storm begins." Every guest, every staff member, every family member slept unaware that their world was about to shift, but Ayana knew exactly what was coming. Morning broke with tension. Ayana had spent weeks silently observing every weakness, every crack in the Obande mansion. Kalen noticed a change in the staff, subtle, efficient, almost unnatural. "Something's different," he whispered to himself. Ayana called the head accountant privately. "Check these numbers. Verify every shipment. I need exact details by tonight." No one knew she was taking control. No one knew she had already memorized every number and every secret in the mansion. Madame Karoma observed from afar, frowning. "I don't like her calm. Too much control. Too little explanation." Ayana smiled faintly in the mirror. Step 1, complete. That afternoon, a major crisis hit. A shipment meant for the Obande business had been misrouted, threatening millions. Staff panicked. Callan scrambled. Madame Karoma was ready to explode. Ayana walked into the office silently. "Step aside," she said calmly. "Let me handle this." She traced the shipment, corrected documentation, and rerouted it without drawing attention. By evening, everything was fixed. No one thanked her. No one realized she had saved them. Madame Karoma whispered to Callan, "Who is she, really?" Ayana's whisper in her room echoed, "They still don't know who I am." Ayana's journal revealed her true power. She had quietly studied the family's finances. She knew every secret, every weakness, every hidden scandal. She understood who could betray the family. Now the time had come. Ayana began planting evidence strategically, not to harm, but to expose the truth that only she could solve. Madame Karoma, unaware, began dreading her own household. Kalen looked at Ayana with confusion and admiration. How was she always 2 steps ahead? Ayana whispered, "Not 2, 10. Madame Karoma finally tried to confront her. "Ayana, you've been manipulating everyone." Ayana smiled gently. "I haven't manipulated anyone. I've only observed and acted when needed." She revealed no details. Her calmness was unnerving. Madame Karoma realized, she's not just part of this house, she's running it. The first real tension between the two women erupted, not a fight, but psychological chess. Kalen noticed something else. She isn't doing this for power. She's protecting us. Ayana's whisper to herself, "The storm has started." By now, Ayana had solved every crisis without anyone noticing. Financial losses prevented, business reputation restored, staff loyalty secured. Madame Karoma's confidence wavered. She realized this girl she had rejected had become the backbone of the family. At dinner, Ayana sat quietly. No praise, no attention. Kalen whispered, "I think she's more than a daughter-in-law." Ayana smiled faintly. Her plan was not revealed. The mansion didn't yet know the depth of her influence. Finally, Ayana chose the right moment. During a high-level family meeting, the hidden fraud and business weaknesses were exposed, but with every flaw corrected quietly by her. The Obande family was shocked. Madame Karoma's voice trembled. Ayana, you've done all this alone? Ayana calmly replied, alone, yes, but only because no one else could see what needed to be done. Silence filled the room. Respect replaced suspicion. Fear replaced doubt. I was never here to be accepted. I was here to ensure the truth prevailed. The mansion was calm again, but this calm was different. Madame Karoma finally approached Ayana. I underestimated you. Ayana smiled, calm, composed, untouchable. Acceptance was never the goal. Palin watched, amazed. You didn't just save the family, you changed it. Ayana stood on the balcony that night. City lights shimmered below. She whispered softly. They still think this is about them, but it's never been about them. It's about the truth, and the truth always wins. The mansion had a new balance now, not dictated by wealth, not dictated by authority, but by silence, patience, and hidden strength.